yeah, so how did I start in the performing arts? And you know, how what were my early influences? I would credit maybe I would go back to the time when I was still during my secondary years. I think I was third year high school at the time when our Filipino teacher asked us to mount or to create a classroom drama. And it was by group, and I was assigned as the group leader. And you know what happens sometimes when you're a group leader, then you initiate the whole thing. So I wrote the play, and I can still remember the title of the play that I wrote. It's in Filipino, of course. It's called Sino ang tunay na may kasalanan. So in English, we can roughly translate is who is at fault or something. And then that's when I thought it's only until there. But when I studied at the Mindanao State University, and I become a Sining Kambayoka member. That's where really my formal engagement in theater, in the performing arts, started. Being a member of the Initial Sining Kambayoka in SAM allowed me to really ground myself in cultural work in Mindanao. And you know, Sining Kambayoka being the oldest running theater company, school-based theater company in Mindanao, and I don't know, maybe probably in the whole Philippines, because it was founded in 1974. It's I got this very nice experience during this period, because then for 2 years we traveled, to many places all over Mindanao, performances, and we get to meet a lot of various theater personalities, and I think I like the form. And however, I thought that after Kambayoka, I'll stop. And then eventually, when I work for the local government unit in Tambuli, I was with the Municipal Tourism Office. I was designated as the Municipal Tourism Officer. That yearning, that part of me, of the artist in me, did not stop. So I created a youth theater company under the municipality of Tambulik. I call it at that time as the Tambul Dance and Theater in SAM. It's composed of high school students and college students and even out of school youth in the municipality of Tambulik in Zamboanga del Sur. So that's where my community theater experience started. It's our youth, and then eventually I came across with at then it's called Theater Training and Research Program, or TTRP, in Singapore, and I tried my luck in applying for the scholarship. This was in 2002, and then luckily I was accepted into the program. And then, so I thought it's just a 1-year program in the beginning. But then later on, I realized that it was a 3-year program. So I cannot imagine leaving my work at the time, government, and go to or to study theater. And I was actually asking myself, is this really what I want? Do I really want to become an artist for life? But I think that the pull there at the time was the fact that it's an international scholarship program. And I wanted, of course, to study abroad, and I want to go abroad. And I think for me, that was the first thing that was so inviting for me, to go abroad, to study abroad, meet new people. So I was brave enough to leave my job with the government service, and then moved to Singapore to study theater under it was called then Theater Training and Research Program, or TTRP, under the Practice Performing Arts Center. Then eventually the program is now called Professional Diploma in Intercultural Theater, major in acting. And the school now is called Intercultural Theater Institute, or ITI. And that is where I was formally introduced to really the more schooled art of theater making, where I meet directors from all over, from different parts of the world, from different parts of Europe, and then the Asian classical art system from various places in various countries in Asia, and then I had teachers from Australia, and that was for me, that kind of engagement in the professional engagement, because it's a professional program, and we were trained as professional actors. So when I came back to the country in 2005. And then I told myself, well, I labored for 3 years to study theater, and I work hard to achieve, to get this diploma, and I told myself, so this is now my career. This is now my not only my passion, but already not just a passion, but already my career. Between it started with just a passion because I wanted to create, and now it becomes now really as a career. So that's how that's how I started. Why I am now in the performing arts, why I do theater, even until now that I'm 48, I still do theater and will still continue doing theater. I would really say, because really my formal, I would say my engagement in theater really started with the cine Cambayoca. And I think it's the Cambayoca theater form that was foremost my first engagement. In my early creative work, I really created productions that are using the Cambayoca theater form. However, after I graduated from ITI, perspective changed. It opened up a lot of possibilities. So I think I am already. It's sometimes difficult to really say who are my influences, because there are a lot of things. I would always remember, what our school founder would say to us, that ITI, for example, is like preparing Chinese medicine, that you put all the herbs and then you simmer it, and then what leaves from all this combination of various forms, what leaves there is what is good for the body. And I think basically from the trainings that I got from ITI Singapore, the various techniques and style is in my body. So siguro I would say that one of the most influential, or two of the most influential right now in my current work now, are two of my teachers in Singapore. One, he already passed away, I think last year. One of my favorite director, Philip Zarilli. He's an American director, but based in the UK for the last many years of his life, until his death. That's where I was inspired by his psychophysical actors training, and I worked with him in a production in a water. Okay, the production was one of my graduation production in Singapore was Water Station. It was written by the Japanese playwright Ota Shogo, and I was introduced to this kind of nonverbal theater, and the silence, the simplicity, but the loaded meaning, and because of that, when I went back to the country, I developed a module on nonverbal theater, and I created one of my best productions. I call it Patch. It's a nonverbal theater, and this is influenced by Philip Zarilli's work on psychophysical actors training. There's no text, but just purely the nuances of the language. And this is influenced by also my experience acting in Ota Shogo's The Water Station. The second one would be Arne Nimi. He's well, I cannot remember. He's an Australian, also he was awarded an award. I cannot remember exactly the award that he got from Australia, but he's a very good method acting director. It was from him that I also was exposed. I am exposed to realism in theater. Before going to Singapore, I think I also I used to be this kind of director who shouted at actors. Sometimes throw things to actors. But when I met these directors in Singapore, especially Arne Nimi, I get to work with a director who mentored you, but just speaks to you in very calmly, but coach you, allow the actor in you to come out rather than terrorize you. And I think it's from him that I get this kind of the humanity of a director, that a director should not terrorize actor, that a director allows the actor to bring out the best in the actor by by tickling what is inside the actor, by allowing it to grow and develop it rather than pushing the actors to and I think this is from him. He's very calm. He will give you notes and it will make you think. It'll make you it allowed me to become a thinking actor rather than I become scared because he's my director but it gave me the opportunity to think and to negotiate with my own self and what could have been done better. I would always remember him telling me what could have been done better. If you're doing to do it again, what are the things that you can experiment? You can do it again. If you can do it again, what would you like to experiment and do it again to improve or enhance your performance? And I think this is a quality of a director that I emulated from him. So I would say that it's really from these two these two directors that I worked with that I would credit. Many of my works now are because of these two directors that I work with.
Humiliate. Hi, Melissa. Hi.
Before the pandemic, in 2020, I was elected as the head. I'm elected. I'm now the current head of the National Committee on Dramatic Arts of the National Commission for Culture and the Arts. In February of 2020, we just had our oath taking, and then a month after, we did not have a formal face-to-face meeting with my committee. Then lockdown happened, and I told myself, oh my God. This is my fourth term being a committee member of the Committee on Dramatic Arts, and now I become the head. And suddenly, pandemic happened, and we are locked down. And so that was for me a challenge. And as head of the National Committee on Dramatic Arts, how can I lead now the committee into planning programs for the theater, the drama sector in the country in the pandemic, in this lockdown mode, And then that was a while for me to really take off, And when lockdowns happened in March. It took a while for me to really reconcile with myself. How? What should I do as head of the CDA? And in terms of my creative work, personally as a director, as an actor, what should I do? And I think for me at the time, what was strong for me at the time was really keeping the idea of live, the concept of live in theater. I debated with my own self that transitioning my work to an online platform, I have to reconcile with me. Is this theater? Is this still theater? When I transition my work into the virtual platform, and one thing that was very clear for me, I wanted to really keep the live element in theater. And I've been telling myself, and some of my colleagues that I have been in conversation with, that I really wanted to to create a work that, although it's done virtual, done online, but I can still keep, the quality of life, the pressure that we as actors can have while performing, in a real stage, in a real theater. So I started to conceptualize of doing productions that is really performed live, although to be streamed online. And through a grant from the Cultural Center of the Philippines, kaisa sa sining grant, kalinga ng sining grant, I got to experiment in how can I do theater, keeping the live element of theater, but streaming it online. No? So I had two projects funded by the CCP Kalinga ng Sining Grant, or KNS. And I created this, I called the whole project as Itanghal, Remote Festivals in the New Normal. And under these two festivals, I migrated online two of the festivals that I organized in Mindanao. And I call this Inusara, or Inusara Mindanao Solo Performance Project. So this is a festival of solo performances, and that was already. I started this in 2019. No, so in 2020 I created the Inusara, Inusara 2, and Inusara 2 I migrated it online. But I want, again, like what I really want. I want it to, to keep the live feeling for the actors. So I created a festival where the actors, I collaborated with 5 actors, five including me. So I have one actor from Dumaguete, si Hope Tinambakan, and then one actor from Zamboanga City, Rosalie Iscala, and then one from General Santos City, Rochelle Pudico, and then me, and then Ted. No? So 2 from Samis. So what we do is simulating a festival. So all the 5 of us were on standby, and then I have a virtual stage manager. The control was actually in Osamis, no, with LaSalle University, and then so one after the other. So the first performer is in standby. So we have either 1 or 2 phones, and then being streamed here in LaSalle, and then LaSalle, the technical team in LaSalle, the EDMST, Educational and Digital Media Services team of LaSalle University, stream it online. And so we are like, we have the virtual stage manager queuing the stage manager in the location. They're telling, okay, stand by. After this, it's just 2 minutes. In 5 minutes, this piece will end, and then be ready and stand by. We will feed you next. So we use at the time we used StreamYard, no, just to feed. So it was a lot of technical coordination. So in every places there are stage managers, and then I have a virtual stage manager who is controlling all the SMs in the different locations, and then feed. And for me, that was simulating a performance, and the performance live. And I always say that, one of my collaborators asked me, what happens if suddenly the connection freezes, and the internet connectivity lags? My philosophy at the time, then that is part of the process of doing live theater in the new normal. If the internet freezes, and it really happened, no? And there were some cases in the part of, even in my own performance, that the internet lags and then freeze. And then I thought, okay, that's fine. And for me, I don't have problem with that, because the issue of internet connectivity in the Philippines, well, it's given that our internet connectivity is not really that strong, and that is part of the experience. And I don't mind that, it lags. That's part of doing live theater in the new normal. The second project, I call it Pares Mindanao Duo Festival. Well, Inusara is one. Pares is Duo. It's the Duo Festival. It is already on its 4th year. So I did Pares 1, 2, 3 in a face-to-face setup sa LaSalle, in LaSalle University. hosted by Teatro Gindigan. So all these performing groups travel to Osamis and they perform live. But for Paris 4, I wanted keeping the same simulation of the performing groups. They are on standby. They are ready already from their places, and then they are streamed online. And then I asked them, you have two camera phones and stream online. And same model in that they perform in their places and then being streamed in LaSalle. And then for me, okay, it proved effective, and I told myself, yes, I can still. In fact, some of them, there are about 2 or 3 audiences that watch their live performance being streamed online. So I would say that there are about 2 or 3 audiences in the place that the real performance happened. Now, for example, in LaSalle Osamis, for example, our colleagues who are living in the space where we had our live performances, they watch the live performances. But we also have the virtual audience from the different parts of the country, probably other parts of the world, who watch the performance. So for me, that's a different level. Eventually, the next level, which I could have wanted to experiment really, is kind of festival that they can come up, let us say, with in adherence to IETF protocols. Maybe you can gather a group of 10 audience, live audience, because it's really different when there are really audience, there are live human beings watching the show, because that can give you a sense of performing for an audience rather than performing to a virtual screen, to a cold screen. But and the next level of my experimentation is supposed to be really creating this festival where the participating group can gather at least a group of 10 audience, live audience, to give differs, but still streaming online for a more wider audience. This is something next in line for our future engagement. And then after that, this Itanghal, funded by the CCP, became successful, and then thankfully, Japan Foundation granted us again through the small grant program, granted us the Kotai. And this international collaboration. I was thinking, like, no, we cannot travel anymore. We cannot travel physically to make international collaboration. So I called back my classmates at the TTRP or ITI now. And then I proposed to them that I wanted to propose to Japan Foundation for this collaboration and experiment. But I told them, but I want it to be live. I want that we do it live. And it's like, how can that be possible? And I told them, we can shoot videos, footages of our experiences during the pandemic or during lockdown, and then we started with layering it. And then, so there's a lot of negotiation and compromise. And that was also the first time that we experimented. And I told Ted, as my virtual stage manager, I told Ted, I want this to be live. The 4 actors from 4 different countries will be performing live, and then layered with these visual images, the pre-recorded videos that we layer to our performance. I asked him, is that possible? And then my VSM told me it might be challenging, but we can study, and I think it's possible. So then we are able to find a language that it's really possible, and we just really need to it's really a lot of technical rehearsals, because you need to place where you place the actor and all this stuff. And then again, I wanted to experiment more. Then I came again another project with Senior Erasmus, which when we sent an entry to Teatro Europa, which again we ventured into the OBS frame, and then I wanted that the 2 of my actors are actually in Cebu, and then 6 of the actors are in Osamis. And So I challenge again, Ted as my creative director, is that possible? How can we make it really like the two actors can be layered? So the technical team, the ADMST, or the Educational and Digital Media Services team of LaSalle University, they started experimented how the actors in two different places can be layered. But we are in the same. In the previous project, it's still a square. But in this project with Senior Erasmus, we have to be in the same space, and through virtual background, and using OBS framework, it made possible. So that is something that that I have done, and then I challenge myself, and okay, of course, I always work with Ted in terms of the creative design. So I challenge Ted and the industry that maybe in the future I want to do a project using the OBS frame that actors are from different places, but stream. But I want to do it live, as opposed, because Senior Erasmus was pre-recorded. It's not live. But I wanted it live, but using OBS frame. Like, let's say if I have 3 actors from 3 different places, but I put them in one stream, but it's not pre-recorded, but it's done live, and the images, and then I know it's technically demanding, but I know it can be possible. So that is our future, future experimentation of doing this kind of work, probably riding on in the new normal. Because again, I'm a believer that theater should be performed live. And I want to put a distinction between theater and film. And I wanted to have this kind of, as an actor myself, I wanted to feel the pressure that I should not forget my line. I should not forget my cues, because these are streamed online. Because when you shoot, that one you can say cut, and okay, let's take it again. But doing it live, you have that kind of live feeling. I should, as an actor, I should not commit mistakes. I should not forget my cues. I should not forget my lines, because it's streamed online, that they are live audience, although virtually, who are watching the performance. So these are my current engagement these days. Personally, when the pandemic hit last year, it changed a lot. It changed a lot of perspectives in me. One, I think a lot of things, happened personally. My perspective changed. The way I look at things changed. The way I look at creative works changed, and even the way I look at my retirement changed. And I think how I am looking at the idea that it was painful on my part when the pandemic hit, that arts were considered as non-essential. That the kind of work that we do were not classified as essential during pandemic, during health emergencies, and it's seen as as unnecessary, because right now we are in the survival and safety needs. But I still believe that the arts are, to make society humane. We need the arts. We need the arts to make our society humane, to make our, especially now, I would say that now our dealings, our relationships with people become cold, especially that we are now dealing with the cold-blooded screen right before us. As cultural workers, as theater artists, as performing artists, we love to connect. We love to collaborate, and theater as a collaborative form of art. We love to engage with people. We love to hug with people. We love to touch people. And then nowadays, we are facing a cold virtual world where we are facing our cold virtual screen, and we wanted to extend our hands to touch people, but we cannot. We are bounded by the limitations. And I was looking at the idea that hopefully that someday soon, our government worldwide will really feel that sense, giving the importance that in this period where it's survival for safety, but giving priority also as the arts to feed the soul of humanity, to give us, a more, to give us, to make us feel more human. Uh, to allow us to feel that we still need to think, to feel, to enjoy, to feel different various emotions, not only scare because of this pandemic. And uh, for me personally, I'm looking at, I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful that post-pandemic, I'm claiming that post-pandemic is soon to come. No, that post-pandemic we will not be living. I think pandemic, the COVID-19 or the pandemic has. We will not go back. We will not go back to the 2019 period. We are moving towards the future, and the future is already a hybrid form, of doing work, of doing theater. I don't know what that is. No, I always say that whatever that we are doing now, when we go back to face, work, the kind of works that we have now will not stop, but it becomes now another approaches of doing work in the future. So what we are doing now will inform us for a more approach of doing theater, of doing work in the future. I would say that we cannot go back anymore to the pre-pandemic, to the 2019 doing, the kind of work that we have. But this experience now will already add on another layer to the kind of working that we will have in the future. So I am hopeful that with this experience that we have now, I want to take it on a more positive light, that this pandemic has also offered us, has challenged us actually, has pushed us to be creative, has pushed us to find new models of doing work, has pushed us to find new ways, new strategies in creating works, which eventually we will not leave this after the pandemic's end, but eventually we will bring it forward. And I'm looking at, I am, for a lack of a better word, I would say hybrid form. No, because that's a more safe and a more generic way of pulling it. That maybe in the future, I'm looking at, there will be a different, if we have postmodern, post-colonial kind of theater, whatever that means is, maybe we can have this so-called quote unquote now, for a lack of a better term, maybe a hybrid form of theater that engages, multimedia, that engages online, the virtual, the virtual platform, or maybe that's the kind of, I'm looking at maybe someday soon we can have a live performance where the other actor is in the space, in a different space, probably in, let's say in Japan or in Singapore, for example, and the other actors are in live in space, and then the other actors are projected in the space. This kind of hybrid form of performances that happened in the past, but this is happening now. So maybe eventually, as humans as we are always creative. We always find ways, and I think eventually, as we go on with our creative work, we will be able to find new ways, to find new approaches. I don't know what will be like in the future. But post-pandemic, I claim that post-pandemic will be very soon. But this kind of work that we have now will influence the kind of work that we will do when face-to-face, working will be, implemented soon.